How quickly can Coach Lincoln Riley get comfortable in his new defensive shoes?
You are Locked On Trojans, your daily podcast on the USC Trojans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Fight on, everyone. I'm your host, Mark Holken, and thank you for making Locked On USC part of the Locked On Network, your first listen every day. Whether you're watching the show on YouTube or wherever you want to download your podcast, this show is free, and never forget how much I appreciate your support. These days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. That's why Lincoln Jobs helps you find the right people for your team faster and for free. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnCollege. Terms and conditions will apply. Have you ever put on a new pair of shoes, dress shoes, running shoes, athletic shoes, whatever, and then you take a walk in them, and they don't quite feel right at first when you put them on. It takes a little while. You got to break them in. You put them on, they look good, but again, they just don't feel right. They don't feel good right off the bat. Lincoln Riley, I think, is facing a similar situation with his new defensive staff. He needs to get those guys broken in quickly so they know how he works and he knows how they like to work. Going through the interview process and making sure you got the best guys available, that's one thing. Can you put them all in the same bowl? And when you're all done mixing it all up together, it's going to taste good. In a few months, a couple months, USC's football team, they're going to come together. And spring camp, all of a sudden it's going to be upon us. And there's going to be all that newness. And there's going to be some uncomfortableness as well. As, everybody kind of works to sort things out, so to speak. Right now, the players are getting acquainted with each other during their winter workouts. They're working out, in the weight room, out there on Howard Jones Field, running, pulling, pushing, doing all the stuff that no one gets to see behind the scenes. They're getting out there before dawn, before the sun comes up, getting those workouts in. Coming together as a team. This is where the camaraderie is developed. So you have players who have been around 2-3 years, maybe a year, and they're meeting the new players, the new arrivals, the early enrollees. So they're all coming together, getting familiar with each other. And meanwhile, the coaching staff, they're learning each other's personalities as well as their players when they bump into them. So when spring camp ends, I still feel that it's probably going to take a little bit more time to get those defensive shoes broken in for Lincoln Riley, to where everything fits really comfortably. And again, I'm not overly concerned about the staff getting along or nothing like that. That's not where I'm going with this. Because I think they'll figure it out as they go along, as spring camp starts. They're in the middle, at the end, they'll have their bumps. And, all right, well, we won't do it this way. We'll do it this way next time. Again, they'll figure it out as they go along. But how comfortable will the staff be with Lincoln Riley's play calling? At least his style. We know that Lincoln Riley he's offensive by nature, right? That's where he made his bones. So Coach Riley, will he be extra aggressive on offense now? Will he take that offense and go even more, I don't know how you want to call it, quick strike? I don't know. Again, we saw what Miller Moss can do as a starter for one game. He's familiar with Miller Moss. But how aggressive will Lincoln Riley be with his offense, knowing he's got an entire new defensive staff for the most part? Sean New is still around. So is he going to be more confident in this defensive staff that they'll get stops and he can be more aggressive on offense? I think that's something that we're going to have to watch and see how that plays with each other. Again, Lincoln Riley, offensive guy, likes to score points, not known for his defensive prowess. So again, will his play calling style adjust to the defense? Because here's what you have to look, I guess, kind of look forward, look ahead towards. Let's say Lincoln Riley gets real aggressive and he has a bunch of big ball Pete moments, and those moments don't execute on the field. Now all of a sudden you're putting your defense in a bad situation. How often will that happen? Will Antonlynn say, "Hey, Coach Riley, let's not do that right here, right now. Let's make sure I got our defense ready to go." Everybody is familiar. Well, USC fans know what they saw from the UCLA defense when USC played them at the end of the year. Again, that was UCLA's defense at the end of the year. I don't know if we should anticipate USC's defense looking like that at the beginning of the year. So again, how will Lincoln Riley's play calling on offense affect things on the defense? And what should we anticipate at the end of spring camp? I think at the very least, getting that new system in place, making sure the players understand it by the time they play the Trojan huddle. That's the spring game. On that, by the way, I have a feeling that schedule is going to get released here soon. Last year, spring camp first practice was on March 4th, and the Trojan huddle, the spring game, was on April 15th. If you're watching this show, first thing, on Monday, February 12th, again, I think the spring schedule is going to be released soon. Especially if they're planning on starting in March. So what about identifying the too deep? Are we too far ahead of ourselves? I think so. I think they'll have an idea of which players are going to be a part of the too deep when fall camp rolls around. But let's not forget, you got the spring transfer window that's going to open up. And you're going to have players that are leaving USC. You're going to have players that are going to consider coming to USC. For instance, I just saw that at Michigan, a 2024 commit in Michigan's class just asked for his letter of intent, wanted a release from his letter of intent. So it's already started. I don't know. We're going to find out. Can Lincoln Riley get his defensive shoes all broken in? And can he get comfortable in those by the time USC plays LSU in Las Vegas? By the way, congrats to Kansas City. They won the Super Bowl in overtime against San Francisco. The next football game played in Las Vegas inside Allegiant Stadium, USC versus LSU. I'm really looking forward to spring getting here as quickly as possible, so Coach Riley can start breaking in those new defensive shoes, getting comfortable in them, so the rest of the defensive staff can get comfortable working with Coach Riley. And look, I've got to sneak this in here before I end this first segment. How many more players from UCLA are going to transfer to USC, at least on the defensive side of the ball? How many are going to want to follow Antonlynn? And why am I asking this question? If you haven't heard by now, Chip Kelly, UCLA's head coach, he said, screw the buyout, screw being the head coach in Westwood. I'd rather be the offensive coordinator in Columbus, Ohio, for his ex-quarterback, Ryan Day. Yeah, Chip Kelly coached Ryan Day at New Hampshire. Well, Ryan Day is the head coach for the Ohio State Buckeyes. Chip Kelly is his new offensive coordinator. And all I can say is what a dumpster fire is going on over there in Westwood at UCLA. I mean, talk about leaving at the worst time. He did it after both signing days. Early in December. The February one was just last week. And he's gone. I know I shouldn't feel bad for UCLA Bruins. That program is in disarray. And I know a few of the players over there. I feel bad for those guys. I don't hate UCLA. I just don't want them to do well in football or basketball. And there are human beings who are being affected by these types of things. So, anyways, as much of a dumpster fire as that UCLA football program is right now, they still were able to beat USC at the Coliseum last year. Yeah, whatever. So, look, Coach Riley, put on those defensive shoes, break them in, get comfortable, and let's start working with the defense. All right. Hey, don't forget, you like this show? I know you do. Subscribe, hit that bell notification button, smash that thumbs up. All three of those are going to help the show grow. When you're when you're hiring for your small business and you want to have as many top tier candidates as possible to interview, that's what you have to go check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help you find the right professionals for your team, and they're going to do it faster and they're going to do it for free. LinkedIn isn't just another job board. LinkedIn has a vast network of more than 1 billion professionals, and that's going to make it the best place to hire. And hiring is easy when you have that many quality candidates. So easy, in fact, that 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours of posting. LinkedIn knows that small businesses are wearing a lot of hats and that you might not have a lot of time or the resources to hire. Thankfully, LinkedIn, they make the process intuitive, quick, and easy. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnCollege. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnCollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. So go to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube and subscribe to the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. The other day, the On3 network, they put out where the top 10 California recruits signed. It was a tweet. Now, number one, let me point this out. Of the top 10 players in California, there was only 2 5-stars. That's according to the On3 recruiting guides. Now, before we try and run Lincoln Riley out of town on a rail because USC only got 1 commitment out of the top 10 from California, let's try and remember what he was dealing with, right? What was he up against recruiting for the 2024 class? Some of it by his own doing, but once he kept Alex Grinch along for the 2023 season, that was the yoke around his neck. So again, USC only showed up once on this list. Just one time. 1 player out of the top 10 from California, according to On3, signed with USC. That's not a good look. It's never a good look when USC is only getting one of the top 10 players available. So but you know what? Let's go down that list. Let's see where USC missed and where they maybe didn't really miss. Number 1 on that list, according to On3, was quarterback Julian Sayin, 5-star plus from San Diego. Remember, he signed with Alabama real quick. And let's not forget, at the time when Julian Sayin committed to Alabama, well, by the way, he is now a member of the Ohio State class, USC had Malachi Nelson. He came in 2023. And I think everybody knew behind the scenes that Julian Lewis was going to reclassify to 2025. So again, no big deal. Coach Lincoln Riley, he can get a quarterback in the transfer portal. He did that in this past offseason. Xavier Brown was number 2 on the list. He was the other 5-star cornerback, Mater Dei High School. He wanted to be coached up by Nick Saban. And Alex Grinch was the alternative. Let's see how Xavier Brown feels in a year, because Nick Saban has retired. So we're going to find out. And it's not like Dante Williams is coaching over at Alabama. In fact, he's coaching at Georgia. So we'll see. Let's see where Xavier, how he feels in a year. One of his teammates at Mater Dei, Brandon Baker, offensive tackle, look, he never showed interest in USC, and it happens. Some guys they don't want to come to USC. And everyone considered him a legacy. He was a lock for Oregon. His brother played up there. What happened in the end, though? He didn't go to Oregon. He ended up at Texas. Figure it out. NIL. We know USC went all in on Kingston Vileamoasa, the linebacker from St. John Bosco. And it was close. USC was in his final three, but USC was still in third place at the end of the day. Ohio State was his actual leader. But then Notre Dame, they actually stepped up with their NIL package. They knew if they wanted, they had the religious access with him. But they knew if they wanted to get KVA's signature, his letter of intent, they were actually going to have to step up with their NIL game. And they did. So they put the whole package together. There was another another Mater Dei player on that top 10 list from On3. Running back Nate Frazier. Look, honestly, I have no idea. And I've really never asked, but for whatever reason, USC running back coach Kyle McDonald and USC, Lincoln Riley, minimal interest. So does that make him a miss? If USC, they offered, they would have been happy to take him, but he wasn't at their top of their running back board. I don't know why. So is that a miss? Again, Mater Dei. They populated the top 10 list according to On3 from the state of California. Defensive tackle Aiden Braylon. USC tried to keep him interested. They wanted him, but he wasn't going to come to USC the way they were playing defense. And especially without handing out those NIL guarantees, just wasn't in the cards. Wasn't happening. There was an interior offensive lineman. His name's Eugene Brooks. For whatever reason, I have no idea. His name just never came up. Wasn't part of wasn't part of the big picture with Josh Henson. So again, does that make him a miss for USC and for the staff? Just because he's a part of the top 10 group, does that mean USC has to have him? Go get him. Well, if he doesn't fit your scheme, that's a wasted roster spot. If you're wondering where he's going, Oklahoma. Now, number 8 on the list. USC got the top wide receiver in the state. What else is new, right? Xavier Jordan. So that's one of the top 8 players. In 2023, USC showed that they will play freshman wide receivers, and a freshman wide receiver can make an impact. So Zachariah Branch, Juice Robinson, Jacoby Lane, Mekhi Lemon. Let's see if Jordan's ready to be a part of the rotation. If he's that good, he's going to see the field. I mean, if you're a top 10 player, you should be, right? What about number 9 on the list? Dakota Fields. Remember when he was actually committed to his dream school, USC? So at one time, USC had 2 guys from that top 10 list. That's 20%, right? What is a good percentage? 30, 40%? So again, he was committed to USC, and then one day he decided he wanted to be an Oregon Duck. This had everything to do with NIL. Everything. Sorry. but I hope USC never pays a high school player from Southern California to come to USC when it's their dream school. Don't give in. USC knows they have to be more aggressive with some of the top players. But if you've been paying attention, all of a sudden, the NCAA is starting to crack down on the pay-for-play stuff. So that's why USC is doing it the way they're doing it. We'll see what they do going forward. But I did find out just the other day that they have pretty much reached their goal of that $13 million they wanted for this upcoming season. So there you go. And then the number 10 player on the list, Peyton Woodyard, safety from Bosco. Remember, at one time he was committed to Georgia. Then he flipped. And he's enrolled at Alabama. Again, as long as Alex Grinch was USC's defensive coordinator, he was never coming. So could Coach Riley have given himself a better chance had he changed defensive coordinators after the 2022 season when they finished with 11 wins and 3 losses? Well, probably. He didn't. But here's the thing. If he did, let's say Lincoln Riley made the change after the Cotton Bowl loss. Okay? Maybe USC gets a couple of these players that I just mentioned. Maybe not. What I do know, what I feel very confident about, is I doubt that his new defensive staff would look like the one he has. So, which would you prefer? The defensive staff that Lincoln Riley has put together, or every one of those defensive players that USC, finger quote, missed out on in the last recruiting cycle? I'm going to go with the new staff. One, because they missed on those other players. Well, they sort of missed on some of them. And this new defensive staff can make those players reconsider where they chose to go to begin with and come home. And I know it's opening eyes with other recruits across the country as well. So I think in the long run, big picture, this will work out in the end for USC. So how many did USC really miss out on? 3, 4? They had 2 committed at one time, then 1 backed out. Again, I'm not sure what Lincoln Riley could have done once he made the decision to keep Alex Grinch around. Sometimes you roll the dice, you gamble, you roll craps, you lose. Get buckets with your first bet on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now, new customers, you're going to get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. It's $150 if your bet wins. Bet on all your favorite NBA players and teams with. They got quick bets. You got some live same-game parlays, exclusive prop bets, and more. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and shoot your shot. FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NBA. Speaking of, did everyone enjoy the big game, Super Bowl 58? It wasn't the most exciting or offensive game played. And I think Kyle Shanahan is wondering why he stopped running the ball in the third quarter. When you have Christian McCaffrey standing on your sideline, that's not a good thing. Should have been giving him the ball. I mean, that's kind of like having Reggie Bush on the sideline for that 4th and 2 when they were trying to three-peat it. Yeah. Look, the game wasn't that great. I don't even really want to talk about the Super Bowl. Could not care less who won. I did say that I thought San Francisco would win a close one. Missed extra point in regulation. That's why they went to overtime. Look, congratulations, Kansas City. So, while the game wasn't great, I thought there were some really cool, some really great Super Bowl commercials. And that's what I want to talk about here in the last segment. I told you I was going to talk about it. Pardon me. Look, if you're going to spend what, $7 million for 30 seconds, double that. If you're going to spend, do a 60-second commercial, you better make an impression. So these are the commercials that made an impression on me. I really liked that Dove soap, the Girls for Confidence commercial. I like this one because of, I'm not a huge, in fact, I'm not a women's sports fan. I don't watch it, but I do think they should at least be allowed to compete against real women. That's why I like this commercial. Yep. Women with confidence. I enjoyed it. And someone tell me, what was up with that Michael Cera moisturizer commercial? What was that? I'm not sure what I was watching. I mean, it was that bad. It turns out, and I had to go do some research, it was a L'Oreal commercial. Makeup. Again, I have no idea what I was watching. Another bad commercial. The Wizard of Oz, Redux. Yeah. They're making they're redoing the movie. They're calling it Wicked. I don't know. Can we please leave certain iconic movies alone? Please. You don't need to redo this. If you saw the commercial, you know exactly why they're redoing it. It's going to be a flop. I'll tell you what movies aren't going to be a flop. Deadpool 3. Yeah. Deadpool and Wolverine together. Okay, I like that. They got another Planet of the Apes movie coming out. They got another Twister Tornado sequel movie coming out called Twisters. You know what? I'm good with these. I'm good with those movies. I'm not sure look, I don't think you'll ever be able to outdo the original Planet of the Apes movies, but these look like they'll have some fun action scenes, something to enjoy. But I'll tell you what, give me Deadpool and Wolverine any day of the week. I love Deadpool humor. I really like that type of humor. And I have a feeling this movie is going to be hysterical. Because while Wolverine doesn't have that Deadpool dirty, vulgar humor, it's got that deadpan, one-liner type of stuff, witty stuff. I think those two characters coming together, it's going to be a good movie. It's actually been a minute or two since I've seen a movie in a theater. I mean, a long time. I think I'm going to hold out till July. I'm going to go check that out. It was nothing spectacular, but I love that Kawasaki mullet commercial. Stone Cold Steve Austin, yeah. Business up front, party in the back. That made me chuckle. All right. The Popeyes chicken wings commercial. They did it with Dr. Ken Jeong, the guy from The Hangover, the movies. Look, that guy is freaking hysterical. Pretty much, he has a Midas touch. Whatever he puts his finger on, he will make me laugh. So they did the whole freezing yourself for 50 years and then waking up, and all of a sudden he's figuring out, ooh, Popeyes has chicken wings, and all the stuff that we live with today in the world. It had me laughing. I like that commercial. This one might have been my favorite commercial, though. In fact, it was. Christopher Walken, it was amazing. BMW was pitching their electric car. The only thing missing from this commercial was more cowbell. If you know, you know. You get it. Close second, though, it was the Arnold Schwarzenegger and Danny DeVito State Farm commercial. Both of those were hysterical. Watching Arnold Schwarzenegger try and do the R word, yeah. Get to the chopper. It was that thing. Also, another really good commercial. The Dung Kings, Tom Brady, Ben Affleck, J-Lo. Yeah. There weren't too many car commercials. Usually those things are, usually there's a lot of them. For whatever reason, there weren't. Excuse me. But that BMW one, I like the Hyundai Santa Fe Viking commercial. I thought that was fun. And I like the VW commercial. But if I'm choosing between the car manufacturers, I'm going to give a tip of the hat to VW for the nostalgia. And it also looks like we're bringing back the VW bus. But at least that thing will go over 55 miles an hour. Somehow I doubt these new VW buses are going to be as easy to start as the ones that they made like in the 60s and the 70s. Literally. You didn't need more than a hairpin and a rubber band to keep those things going. Speaking of nostalgia, I like that Poppy Soda commercial. I thought it was really cool. But it also reminded me that 80s music now is considered oldies. You hear the Yaz song playing in the background, Only You? Yeah. E-Trade, always cool when they bring up the baby commercials. This year they were the Pickle Babies, playing on the pickleball meme. To this day, I have still never played a game of pickleball. In fact, when I played pickle, it was with a baseball and two guys chasing the base runner. That was pickleball. I don't know how they came up with paddle tennis and called it pickleball. This one hit me hard. I was not expecting Apollo Creed to hit me this hard. But man, I was crying. That FanDuel commercial, loved it. But yeah, shot to the heart. What else do we have? Oh, you had Trojans and Oreos. That's a nice twist. Get it? Look, anytime you got USC Trojans highlighted, that's a good thing. Mark Sanchez and the helpful Honda folks raised $141,000. Former USC quarterback Mark Sanchez was playing catch with high school teachers, and each reception was worth $1 amount. He was 21 for 27 throwing the ball, and it raised $141,000. So, yeah. I kind of laughed at that halftime Etsy commercial, the Statue of Liberty from France. We got to get them something. What about the Paramount TV Plus? Yeah. Paramount owns CBS. They were going to make sure they got all their streaming shows in there. Captain Picard, James Stewart, Patrick James Stewart. He is so bizarre. I mean, that character that he does on American Dad. This one took it another step further. He wanted to throw a baby that was shaped like a football at a mountain. And he wanted to use it as a grappling hook. Again, I told you I was going to enjoy the TV commercials, the Super Bowl commercials. I love them. But by far, the worst commercial. No, I'm not going to talk about the worst commercial because I'm going to stay away from that. The worst Doritos commercial that I've seen in a long time. What was that? Just weird. Two old ladies. It was like they were Tom Cruise playing Mission Impossible. There was another bad commercial. It was one of the first ones of the game. You probably saw it. Yeah. Anyways, that's it for this episode of Locked on USC. I will be back tomorrow with another episode because what we do here 5 times a week. So until then, everyone, you know what to do.